Well, so we're continuing this exploration of intercultural and interfaith stuff. And actually what I decided to do was focus a little bit on this teaching because it is in that mix. It is part of all of this. So I came up with this really nebulous title for the week, which was The Nature of Being. And one of the things that happens when you decide that you're going to teach about something is that everything that might be it comes up. So, I'm it. Am I it? Am I it? And so, of course, I had quite a few variations. And what really stuck with me, because we have a class going on Wednesday evenings right now. We have one that just started on Thursday evenings. We have our wonderful Prosperity Plus workshop, which has been continuing. It's now in its third week on Sunday afternoons. And there is this incredible vortex, this, what is that word that we talk, morphic field that is being created, not just by when we get together for an hour and a half or so on a Sunday morning, not just because we might be emailing each other or texting during the week, but because as a group of people who are related, who are consciously working together on purpose, and we're doing something similar. There's something that's happening because of, in addition to that. Like, it's the law of attraction times, 3 or 4 or 10 or something. Lots. So the nature of being. I'll tell you one of the themes that has come up that has led to what I wanted to share with you today has to do with the Wednesday class. Okay, we have bookends. We have Sunday workshops that are about prosperity. And they are about health and wholeness, physically and circumstantially. They are about creative self-expression and true fulfillment. They are about harmonious relationships which work all the time. And they are about living and moving in the material world without effort or strain, in a total awareness of infinite abundance. Okay, so those are the bookends. Then on Wednesday nights, as we began our second 8 weeks together, what came through again and again and again was a request that we emphasize harmony in all of our relationships. And those came individually from people present in the class who had a specific request having to do with family or work. And prayer requests, by the way, coming in throughout the past couple of weeks that are related to the same ideas. Okay. Then Thursday night, we start this brand new class called Beyond Limits. And the requests have been, I want to know how to live beyond limits in terms of my health, in terms of my financial well-being, in terms of my own physical healing, in terms of my fulfillment creatively. So you see, this is the vortex that we are creating, not just here this morning when we're together, but in so many other places. And things are popping. They're showing up. They're already materializing because we're calling them forth with our attention. So none of that was what I had planned to say so far. I will share this. And there's a piece of paper of mine that went away. One of our statements of belief, here it is. On the back table, there is a piece of paper that has about 12 statements on it. It says, we believe at the beginning of each one. These are basically a synopsis of the teachings of the science of mind and spirit, which is what we're about. 450 centers worldwide teaching these principles since the 1920s. We believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny, for we understand that the life of all is God. So there's that. Then I have this thing that I carefully transcribed, word for word, listening to one of Deepak Chopra's 21-minute day meditation challenges. This one is Creating Abundance, just in case you want to order that. It's a fantastic series. The first component of the law of Dharma is to discover the true self. The second and third components are inextricably intertwined. They are to express your neat talents and share those gifts to bring happiness to you and others. Explore all the things that make your heart sing and enable you to make a life, not just a living. Ask yourself, how can I help? How can I serve? Expressing your gifts in service to others is the highest expression of the law of Dharma. When your creative expressions match the needs of those around you, abundance effortlessly flows in your life in perfect divine order. You can put the law of Dharma into practice today simply by paying attention to the spirit that resides in you, consciously acknowledging your unique talents and asking yourself how you can best use those gifts to serve the world. So this idea of the nature of being, what I came up with when looking at that, and all of these requests, all of these very clear, focused desires to grow and to become more, was this. The idea of having a soul's purpose, a life's purpose, the idea of having a dharma, having something that is your gift to give in the world and your reason for being is very alluring. And sometimes it can be a little frightening too. If you have a dream that you've already identified, this topic may awaken that dream within you and cause you to want to run out the door and start doing something about that right now. And if any part of you has ever tried to minimize and shelve that dream because for some reason you thought it wasn't possible and it would be best not to have it at all, then this idea may be bringing up a little frustration and longing. You know, there may be every good reason in that mindset to try to put it away again as soon as possible or get away from it. There's this interesting thing that our founder, Ernest Holmes, says, which is that any disease, any type of dis-ease, let me separate those words, discomfort, discord, discontent, any type of dis-life. I know that's not a word, but you understand. Any type of pushing away that which can be is dis-ease. And it shows up first in our thoughts, and then our feelings, and then our emotions, and then the choices that we unconsciously make for the most part, and the things that we do, and what we attract and experience, and they show up as our experience. So we have all that. Ernest Holmes says that all disease comes from trying to entertain a complex. A complex is simply two different opposing lines of thought, and therefore feeling, emotion, choice, action, and experience. So, let's say half of you, just for fun, is saying, oh, I'd love to be here and do this. And the other half of you might be a voice from long ago that says, you can't do that. You don't have time for that. You know we can't afford that. Or that's silly. There are more important things to be concerned about. That's a complex. That's a perfect example of a complex. Inner dreams and outward priorities offered up by the culture in which we grew up, saying, oh no, you can't do that. So what happens is, we either shelve the dream, or we try to entertain it a little bit in some tidy way in private that doesn't interfere with everything else, but we don't often live it. Now, there are more people who are having the courage to do that now. Some of them got that courage because the market crashed and they found out, oh, I have to reinvent myself starting right now. And by this time, I have one good friend who's among those, they are writing books about it. And they're teaching other people how to reinvent themselves and discovering what a blessing that is. In any case, dis-ease of any sort any sort is relating to trying to entertain two opposing ideas at the same time. So let's say one of them is this urge within you that is so natural, it is divine, it is pure, it is real. It says, I've always wanted to do this. And the other part says, oh, but not today. We can't do that. That's a complex. And so what happens is we create confusion and we create friction, we create conflict. This could be mental, it's feeling states of yes, no, fear, love, those kinds of things. It's emotions from enthusiasm to concern. And it shows up as confusion in making choices. You ever have one of those days where I didn't get clear this morning. I didn't decide what my priorities were. I didn't make sure that I knew where I was going. I know that's gum. And I have a belief that it helps me with my throat. So, what happens when we're not sure where we're going is often that we jump in the car anyway, right? And we perceive, like that bumper sticker says, I may be lost, but I'm making very good time. I still don't know what that is. Something comes from right there. Okay. So there's this thing that happens. So I'm saying that we have this thing going on between somewhere deep inside of us that knows exactly who we are and what we'd love to be and do and have. And this other part that has learned to say, oh, but you can't have that. And we have the opportunity, no matter where we are in our lives, to say, wait a minute, maybe that message is not true. Maybe that's not the whole story. So we begin to go to classes and groups and take workshops and buy lots and lots and lots of books. And we may or may not actually read them all. You know how that goes. And we start learning about things. We start learning about how things really work. There's a beautiful line from A Course in Miracles that says, nothing real can be destroyed. Nothing unreal exists. Therein lies the peace of God. This is the good news about this little battle, about resolving this complex and therefore clearing this idea of dis-ease. Because of the seeming two things that are battling for our attention, of the seeming two things that are seeking our expression, only one is real. There's a really, really, really wonderful thing about this that is so empowering and so freeing. It takes a lot of the effort out. Because there are not two powers in the universe, there's only one. Because there are not really two things, two entities, if you will, vying for our attention, but only one. There's just one. I renewed my CPR certification this past week. And oh, what delicious metaphors there were there. Think about this. You might have something in your life that has been showing up maybe for a very long time that is completely based in an original idea that was totally false. However, the law of cause and effect, the law of attraction, correspondence, still makes it real. You can smell it, taste it, touch it. You can hear it, and so on. You know, it is so real to the senses you'd think it was real. But it's possible that you just believed in something that wasn't true, and the law did what the law does, and this thing is happening. The great news is this. There's only one life, just like Rick was having us share at the end of the meditation. That life is God's life. That life is perfect, and that life is your life and my life now. I'm channeling Ernest Holmes. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. A really great chant, by the way. If that's true, then, this false appearance, with all of its bells and whistles that you can smell and touch and feel and and it looks so big and hairy and scary, and you think it's never going to be not part of your life. If it was created out of a false idea, all that we have to do is remove the life support. So here's my little CPR analogy. When something is dying, when someone is suffering, they're not responding, they're not breathing, you do CPR. And what you do are compressions and rescue breaths and compressions and rescue breaths and compressions and rescue breaths until someone who's already called 911, because that's first, if we're taking that test, also finds an AED machine. And then you're going to put the paddles on and you're going to do the shock compression rescue breath until help arrives, and then they might put them on life support, and so on and so on. Well, what if your thoughts, which are based in something that's not true, and then the feelings which must follow, and then the emotions which must develop, and then even the unconscious choices that must arise, and the experiences that must come? What if they're not given any life support? So what if you said, no, this is not real. This is not a real life. This is a very tangible example of untruth made manifest. And for it to dissolve into the nothingness from which it came, all I need to do is stop resuscitating it. How do we do that? Stop thinking about it. You don't even have to do the rest, by the way. That's the beauty of it. It's only when we think about something that feelings arise. And it's only when feelings arise that emotions come. And it's only when those come that we act on them. And only when that happens that we draw to us that which corresponds perfectly in our physical environment. We talked about that last week a great deal. So all we have to do is stop giving life to that which is not. This is how to resolve that complex. Ernest Holmes says to heal, simply identify and remove the complex. So we've identified the complex. I know who I am. I go to a workshop like we're doing in Prosperity Plus, and I write down my life vision. I know that. But there's this other voice that says, either after this workshop is over, I'll let it go and go back to where I was, or I'm going to kind of play it safe and not get too excited because I don't want to fall too far. I don't want to be too disappointed, so I'm not even going to give my all to this class. I say that because I know what that's like, to learn to be cautious. I was invited and encouraged to be cautious so that it wouldn't hurt so much. I wouldn't fall so far. It wouldn't be so disappointing. That was love. It was based in fear. And that's okay. So, if we remember, all we have to do is identify and remove the complex, then we can recognize and re-experience wholeness. If we remember there's nothing but one thing going on in this universe, if we remember that nothing real can be destroyed, nothing unreal exists, therein lies our peace. So we don't have to go to mediation. We don't have to try to work it out between two sides because there's only really one. We don't have to work really hard to resolve this complex and restore our wholeness, our health, our well-being in every area of our lives. We simply get to withdraw the life support that we have been giving to the false life with our thinking. Then the feeling, the emotions, the actions, and the experiences will never happen. It's that simple. And what happens then is that reality, that divine reality, that real essence, that truth of who we are rises up. It's always been there. But it's not covered up with mud and dust and whatever false ideas that we have buried it in. It's revealed. Another thing that Ernest Holmes says is that healing is revealing. We don't make anything happen. We don't have to create anything at all. We simply reveal that which is true by taking away that which is not. And it's not that hard to do. This does bring us to one other point, however. You've heard about getting through the eye of the needle and how your camel can't be loaded up with all kinds of stuff, all kinds of baggage. Because you can't get through there if you got all that baggage. Well, the thing about a complex, it also tells us that we cannot serve two masters. Our eyes can't focus perfectly on two different targets. Our beings can't either. And so we're either using our focus, physically, mentally, spiritually, creatively, to focus on that which is real or that which is not. And many of us may be at this crossroads. You know what? We probably camped out rather than just saying, okay, let's get out the map and the compass and look at this again and keep moving. A lot of us sort of, set up camp on the side of the road at this point. Because here's what happens. We know who we'd love to be. We know what we'd love to have. We know what we'd love to do. And yet we have fallen in love with our false beliefs. Oh, but I am this. And I have that. I have since I was a child. And I'm not making fun of you, by the way. I'm making fun of me. Oh, I can't do that. Because someone told me long ago I couldn't do that. And I believed them. Guess what? We can let that go. We can take a deep breath and let it go. Because the thing is, you can't stand in two doorways at once. You can't move into the new life and also keep an apartment in the old one. No, it just can't be done. Eckhart Tolle tells us that when we start to hear it in our self-talk, words like me, mine, possession, my disease, my problem, my issue, my shortcoming, my handicap, or whatever it is, when we say that, it is taken on an egoic flavor. The ego is in there. And I think it was last week that I said we don't need to remove that. We just need to take it to the HR department and give it an upgrade in its job description. Maybe some counseling for a while. Because the ego has a very important role to play. But it isn't to be a substitute for your divine identity, for the truth of who you are. So, we said that the idea of soul's purpose and dharma and life purpose was very alluring. And then we ran into this place where we said, yes, but I have this other group of ideas I've carried my whole life. It says, oh, you can't do that. And I believed them. And so now I'm in this place where I understand that I can't have both, and I have to let go of one. And oh, what a relief to know that one is real, unchanging, abiding, can never be destroyed. Oh, it's marvelous. And the other one will disappear into the nothingness from which it came as soon as I let go. Now I have to let go. And nobody can do that for us. Nobody can do that for us. So it may be that a downsizing or some big change in your life put you in a place where you were pushed out of the nest, and they said, don't worry, you'll grow wings on the way down. It may be that you said, I'm packing my chute. I'm signing up for this, and I'm jumping out of the proverbial plane. I'm taking my leap. Whatever the case may be, if you are pulled by a vision or pushed by pain, there's a chance that you're in that place right now where you're making that choice. And the thing is, the idea that it's hard to let go, The idea that we're going to lose so much by letting go of our limitations is false. And what is true and real, we will only know for sure if we do let go. But those who have written back, come back and told us how magnificent it is. I remember attending a workshop. It was a financial abundance workshop in San Diego back in 2009. So this was really fresh. And that's where people were saying, just do it. Just do it. Oh, I'm thinking about quitting my big job and, going, just do it. You'll learn on the way. So what I invite you to consider today is that even if the idea of a soul's purpose, even if the idea of doing something really magnificent you've never done before, maybe nobody in your life knows it but you or one special person. Maybe you gave it up a long time ago. Consider the possibility that it's still in you because it's part of that abiding thing, because it's part of the truth of you. And maybe even there is a gift in your doing that helps everybody else, that brings something to the world that is missing until you deliver it. Maybe. And if you get to that precipice and say, oh darn, I guess I'm going to have to let go of this, just remember that what you get instead is so grand.